Welcome to 15 Minutes Health, your source for clear, evidence-based insights in nutrition, neuroscience, longevity, and everyday wellness. Each video delivers science you can trust, designed to help you build a stronger, healthier life, all in under 15 minutes. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss practical, science-backed tools that can improve your health for the rest of your life.
Today, we're going to dive deep into the science of longevity. But look, the goal here isn't just about adding more years to your life, it's about maximizing your health span. The number of years you spend feeling great, in good health, and free from chronic disease. We're going to cut through all the noise and the biohacking hype to focus on the core biological mechanisms that actually control how we age. We're going to dissect two of the most critical processes, chronic inflammation and the decline of our immune system. And by the end of this, you'll walk away with a real toolkit of practical, science-backed strategies you can use to target these mechanisms and improve your own health span. So our whole investigation really starts with two fascinating real-world puzzles. On one hand, you have the blue zones, these incredible places like Okinawa in Japan or Sardinia in Italy, where it's not just one person but entire populations that experience amazing longevity. And on the other hand, you have super agers. These are individuals scattered all over the globe who somehow reach their 80s and 90s with the minds and bodies of people decades younger. So the big question is, what's the connection? What are the biological principles that link these long-lived communities and these exceptional individuals? So what is the secret here? Is it just that they have amazing genes? Is it pure luck? Or are there universal biological principles at play that, and this is the important part, we can all control? Well, research on superagers gives us a huge clue. It's not primarily about genetics. A lot of these folks don't even come from families with exceptionally long lifespans. And that right there points us away from this idea of genetic destiny and squarely towards factors that are within our control. The answer, it turns out, lies in understanding just a few core biological mechanisms that really govern how we age. All right, so here's our roadmap for today. We'll start by framing this whole longevity enigma. Then, we're going to do a deep dive into two really critical biological mechanisms. First up, managing chronic inflammation, and second, building up our immune resilience. After we get the why down, we'll shift to the how with an integrated longevity toolkit packed with actionable stuff for nutrition and exercise. And we'll wrap up by hammering home what I think is the most important takeaway. It's all about applying principles, not just blindly following rigid rules.
Okay, let's get into our first core mechanism. To really understand why some people age so incredibly well, we have to look at a process that connects almost every single major disease of aging. We're talking heart disease, cancer, even neurodegeneration. And this common denominator is something called chronic low-grade inflammation. You can think of it like a silent fire that's just constantly smoldering inside the body.
A key mechanism here is a process that scientists have a name for: inflammaging. So as we get older, our immune system, which is designed to protect us with short, targeted bursts of inflammation, can start to, lose its precision. It can become dysregulated, and that leads to this constant low-level buzz of inflammation all throughout the body. Now, this is not the helpful kind of inflammation you get when you get a cut on your finger. No. This is a persistent, damaging state that actually speeds up the aging process and basically lays the groundwork for disease. The crucial thing to get here is that controlling this inflammaging is an absolute cornerstone of healthy longevity.
So what's fueling this fire? Well, according to leading researchers like cardiologist Dr. Eric Topol, a huge culprit is our modern diet. This quote really gets right to the point. Ultra-processed foods are a major driver of chronic inflammation. Mechanistically, these foods kind of hit us in a few ways. They can totally mess up the balance of our gut microbiome, which can lead to what people call leaky gut, basically allowing inflammatory molecules to get into our bloodstream. They also encourage the formation of these nasty compounds called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs, which are directly inflammatory to our cells. So this gives us a really direct lever we can pull.
And we see this exact principle in action when we look across the blue zones. I mean, these places are separated by thousands of miles, totally different cultures, but their diets all seem to converge on a common theme. In Okinawa, it's things like seaweed and sweet potatoes. In Ikaria, Greece, it's wild greens and olive oil. In both Sardinia and Nicoya, legumes are a huge staple. The pattern is crystal clear. A diet that is overwhelmingly plant-based, super high in fiber, rich in antioxidants, and naturally very low in those ultra-processed ingredients. These are, for all intents and purposes, anti-inflammatory diets that support a healthy gut and put a damper on that inflammaging process. All right, let's shift gears to our second mechanism, and you'll see how this builds right on top of the first one. If managing inflammation is this foundational principle we see in entire blue zone communities, then a resilient immune system really seems to be the master key for individual superagers. Research looking into these remarkable people reveals that the state of their immune system is the central pillar of their healthy longevity. It's actually more predictive than their genetic makeup.
Now, to understand this, we need to talk about a process called immunosenescence. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it just means the natural age-related decline of our immune function. As we get older, our immune system can get a little less effective at fighting off new bugs and less efficient at its surveillance job, looking for things like cancerous cells. It's a key part of aging. But here's the secret of the superagers. They resist this decline. They somehow maintain a youthful, resilient, and super effective immune system well into their 80s and 90s. It's not that their immune system doesn't age at all, it's just that it ages so much better.
Okay, now let's look at a really fascinating piece of evidence that highlights the power of our immune system, especially when it comes to brain health. Take a look at this number, 25%. This comes from 3 separate massive studies, and it points to a surprisingly powerful tool for helping us maintain cognitive function as we get older. And the answer is, that's the average reduction in the risk of developing dementia and Alzheimer's disease that was associated with getting the shingles vaccine. Now, let's be very, very clear about the mechanism here. The vaccine is not directly treating or preventing Alzheimer's. The leading hypothesis is that by challenging the aging immune system with a vaccine, you're essentially revving it up. You're giving it a workout. This strategic challenge seems to boost the immune system's overall resilience and its surveillance capabilities, which then in turn provides this protective benefit to the brain. It's just a powerful example of how keeping our immune system robust and active is absolutely crucial for healthy aging, body and mind.
Okay, so we've covered the 2 core mechanisms, managing that inflammation and fighting immunosenescence. So now let's pivot from the why to the how. This section is all about actionable tools, and importantly, these are not some expensive, unproven fads. We're talking about science-backed, low-cost, or even free strategies that directly target the biological mechanisms we've just been talking about.
Let's kick things off with a nutrition protocol that's built on these principles. First, a predominantly plant-based diet. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be 100% vegetarian, but plants really should be the foundation of your plate. Second, a high-fiber intake. You want to be targeting around 25 to 30 grams a day. This is crucial for feeding your good gut bacteria and tamping down inflammation. Third, a strict limit on ultra-processed foods, those primary drivers of inflammation. Fourth, a focus on omega-3 rich foods like fatty fish. And finally, and this is a big one, moderate, not excessive protein intake, a point that definitely requires some clarification.
So a key mechanism to understand here is how the body responds to really high protein loads. There's this popular trend out there, you've probably heard it, advocating for 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. For most people, that is way more than necessary, and there's just no strong data to support it for longevity. In fact, some research suggests that excessively high protein can actually promote inflammation and might overactivate a cellular pathway called mTOR, which is linked to accelerated aging when it's constantly being stimulated. The evidence-based ceiling for most people, even older adults trying to maintain muscle, is somewhere around 1.2 to 1.4 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. That's roughly half of the common recommendation. The crucial point is, more is not better here.
All right, now for exercise. A truly effective longevity protocol has 3 essential parts. First is your aerobic base. You need at least 150 minutes of moderate activity every week. Think brisk walking, cycling. This is fundamental for your cardiovascular health and for managing inflammation. Second is resistance training, 2 to 3 times a week. This is absolutely critical for fighting off age-related muscle loss, or sarcopenia. Maintaining muscle is a key pillar of metabolic health and staying independent. And third, daily balance practice. Simple things like standing on one foot help maintain your proprioception, your body's awareness in space, and this dramatically reduces the risk of falls, which can be just devastating as you get older.
And to make this really practical, here's a simple way to visualize your week. Just think of it as 5 sessions of aerobic activity. Maybe that's a 30-minute brisk walk 5 days a week, and then 2 dedicated sessions for resistance training. The balance work, you can just sprinkle that in every day, maybe while you're brushing your teeth or waiting for the kettle to boil. See, this isn't about extreme, punishing workouts. It's all about consistency across these 3 domains to build a truly resilient body.
And beyond diet and exercise, a few other foundational habits are absolutely critical. Deep, restorative sleep is completely non-negotiable. That's when your brain's glymphatic system cleans out all the metabolic junk. Quality social connection is a consistent finding among the longest-lived people because it buffers stress and helps regulate inflammation. Mentally stimulating activities build what we call cognitive reserve, which makes the brain more resilient. And finally, spending time in nature has been shown to reduce stress and support immune health. These habits create the biological environment your body needs to really thrive.
So, let's tie all of this together. We've looked at the mysteries of blue zones and superagers, we've dissected the core mechanisms of inflammation and immune resilience, and we've laid out a toolkit of really actionable strategies. But the most important step now is actually integrating all this knowledge.
And this right here illustrates the final crucial point. The goal is not to perfectly replicate an Okinawan diet or live exactly like a Sardinian shepherd. The real power is in understanding the principles that are driving their longevity, managing inflammation, building immune resilience, staying active, maintaining social bonds. Your task is to take these universal principles and apply them as a flexible framework to your own life, in your own way. This is all about empowerment through understanding, not rigid, joyless imitation.
So, I'll leave you with this one question. Forget about a complete life overhaul tomorrow. Based on everything we've talked about today, what is one small, consistent change you can commit to this week? Maybe it's adding a can of beans to your dinner. Maybe it's taking a 20-minute brisk walk after lunch. Or maybe it's just swapping one ultra-processed snack for a piece of fruit. The science of longevity isn't built on grand, heroic gestures. It's built on small, intelligent, and consistent actions that target the right biological mechanisms day in and day out.
Thanks for watching 15 Minutes Health. If this video helped you, consider subscribing. Your support allows us to keep creating clear, science-backed content to help you stay healthier, stronger, and better informed. See you in the next video.